Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us on a Leap Day webinar on uh, leaping into private LTE. So today here with me is Eric Randall and Matt Jennings. Eric is with Baicells, Matt is with Streakwave, and we're going to kick it over to them and let them get this presentation started. Eric, take it away, buddy.
All right, thank you for the intro, Benji. So I'm Eric Randall, and what we're going to talk about today on this beautiful leap year day is going to be back to the basics of private LTE. Everyone's talking about 5G and 4G, but let's talk about the basics of what it is and what it really looks like. You know, Today is a funny day. A little story before we get started. It was 60 degrees yesterday, 60 degrees tomorrow. I have 4 inches of snow sitting outside right now. How is that possible? I don't know, but after this, I got to go shovel. All right. So, yeah, I'm the channel manager here at Baicells. I've been with Baicells for right at 2 years now, but I've been a trainer for Baicells for about 5 years. I'm a very technical oriented person. I have an engineering background. So I can talk about this subject a little bit. If it gets too in depth or I'm uncomfortable answering the question, I'm just gonna be like, that's too much for me. I'm gonna have to get a sales engineer to help us. So we'll go ahead and get started. Our agenda real quick is going to be about buy sells. What is a private network? What does a private network look like? And then we're going to compare it to proprietary solutions and Wi-Fi solutions to where you can see how, all right, I'm used to proprietary. How does a private LTE look different than that? Or I'm used to Wi-Fi. How does private LTE look different than that? So I'm going to try and break that down to where you get a better understanding of what private LTE truly means in both a fixed wireless scenario and an enterprise type scenario. Then I'll get into, I'm not going to say reasons to choose private LTE, but more of a comparison of private LTE to Wi Fi 6 and 6 gigahertz frequency that you're hearing so much about now. Um, After that, we'll just hop into a couple quick case studies that you've probably seen that's been around for a while. All right. So the buy sell stories, who we are, what we do, and why we do it. So we are buy sells. We're a global manufacturer of LTE products. In North America, you see we predominantly do band 41, band 48 because they're the available option. Band 48 is kind of available to anybody, whereas band 41 is licensed, but a lot of education and a lot of tribes have license for that. So if you're on this call now and you're part of a tribal organization or you're part of an education system, what you want to do is see if you have license available. All right. So that's who we are. What we offer an LTE solution, whether it's 4G, 5G, honestly, 3G, 2G. We offer the entire gambit all the way through. Um, we offer turnkey, whether it's the core, the RAN, or the CPE, or we offer one of the entire suite. So part of LTE is being 3GPP standards, so you can mix and match us with other deployments. We are in exciting times where we're moving into 5G a lot more, but we can't forget about the older technologies because the whole purpose right now, not just for North America but globally, is to close this digital divide. If everybody's doing 5G, it's going to be too expensive. So we do have to look at older technology to help support everybody globally. Now, why we do it? Let's get back into what I just said. We're trying to help close that digital divide. We provide an affordable solution and the full solution as well. Not only that, we offer a very easy to learn and quick to deploy solution. So why do we do it? We just want to close that digital divide. We want people to understand LTE. We want this to get out there. That's why we do it. All right, so this year is actually our 10-year anniversary. Baicells has been around for 10 years. We've shipped over 400,000 eNode Bs. In North America, we've had over 600 private LTE deployments. Globally, I think that number is up around 800 now for globally. Uh, 10 tier one operators globally as well. We have actually one or two here in North America. Um, and we have our established solution. And the big thing about us, though, is that we are private LTE. We are 3GPP standardized, you can utilize our RAN with someone else's CPEs. So an example of that is you could take the Baicells RAN. I have one right back here. That's the Nova 430, and you can hook it up to an iPad. Your iPad with LTE can actually connect to that and have a private LTE network. That's part of the standardization that 3GPP allows. So now let's get into what is a private network. So let's start with what is a private LTE network. Let's define public network first. So public network provides wireless broadband connectivity that anyone can join. You walk into a Starbucks, you could join their open network. You walk into a hotel, you could join their network. It's slightly closed, but it's still a public network. So that's your public network. A private network, on the other hand, is a closed network that users must be authorized to join before using it. So that is where your hotel would come in more into play, where you have to put a password in, your room number, that kind of stuff. A private network is owned and managed by whoever created it. Same thing with a public network. So again, it's whoever manages that is the owner of it. That's a private network. So now a private LTE network, I wanted to set the groundwork for a private LTE network, is a closed LTE network that is owned and managed by whoever created it. So there are some operators on this webinar right now that you guys actually run a private LTE network. That's part of, what people just don't understand sometimes what that means. They hear private LTE and they think AT&T, they think Verizon. No, this is your own network. This is your personal network. But with this network, you could do so much more than just a standard fixed wireless. All right, so the benefits of private LTE networks. The biggest benefit of all is the security. Hands down, the best security. Wi-Fi 4, 5, and 6, you already know you can hack it. You see it, you hear about it. They have contests on who can hack it fastest. With LTE, it has yet to be hacked. Other than a couple Mission Impossible movies, I have yet to hear about it being hacked anywhere across the world. So huge benefit to LTE there is that security. So whether you're using an iPad on your private LTE network or an actual CPE on your LTE network, you have that security. So along with that is the privacy. With private LTE, you do have the interop because it's 3GPP certified. And with your certain cores, you have full control and quality of service over what devices are more important than other devices. So your quality of service. A great example of this is actually in a hospital. You have that little robot that runs around and hands out medicine. That's awesome. But then you also have that doctor that's performing surgery, and he's doing like a live uplink to where everyone can see it and people are learning from it and they're conversing back and forth. That doctor, his LTE network probably a little bit more important than that medication being handed out. The medication could have a little bit more latency. It's not as big of a deal. So with private LTE, you can truly have full control over your quality of service and different devices. All right, so what does a proprietary type private network looks like? I'll name drop right now. So look at Cambium, Tarana, Mimosa. There are three big names when it comes to proprietary networks. They're typical fixed networks. So you have the internet, and then you have your network manager. Your network manager could be at your location or it could be up in the cloud. And then it goes out to each one of the towers. At the towers, they're called base stations, each one of those nodes. And then that goes out to each one of the houses. At the houses, you normally have an outdoor CPE, that's your customer premise equipment, that brings in that signal, converts it to Ethernet, and brings it into the house. That's your typical proprietary network. A lot of it's really good. Don't get me wrong, it is. But it is proprietary. You can't mix and match. If you get upset if somebody goes out of business, whatever the case might be, you cannot completely convert. You can't change part of your network. You have to change it all. All right. So that's, again, a private proprietary network. So let's add on to that. So what does a private LTE network look like? So you have the same thing. You have that internet. You have that network manager. Now you have that evolved packet core. That evolved packet core is what does all the security. So you have your SIM card that goes into your phone, that goes into every one of those devices out there. And that SIM card is managed by that evolved packet core. That's the core of the network. And in a typical private LTE network, it is an on-site server, and that's where you could add your SIM cards, say which SIM cards are more important. That's where you set up your service plans. All that can be done right there in that evolved packet core. So with that data coming from the internet and with that SIM card, that then goes out to your towers. These are now called eNode Bs. It's a fancy word for 4G base station, nothing more. And then from that eNode B, it goes out to the area and it goes out as LTE signal. So then you can hook up devices like, the Google Pixel Fold, an indoor CPE, an outdoor CPE, whatever you want to do. So with this CPE, this is an indoor one. That's where the SIM card would go in right there. So just like what goes in your phone, it also goes into this device here. And then same thing with outdoor CPEs. We have those as well. All right. So that's what a typical private LTE network looks like. Now, how does Baicells do it differently? How do we make that complicated mess sound easy? Well, we put the EPC, that Evolved Packet Core, and the network manager in the cloud, one easy to use place. I did a video and it's up on YouTube about our Evolved Packet Core solution, about how to bring in a SIM, set up a service plan. All of that is on YouTube, so you could check out how easy that truly is. So just like what you see here, that's on the internet. Each one of our eNode Bs will connect back to the internet. And then from there, it just ties into that network manager evolved packet core, which is called Cloud Core. Once it goes out into the field, again, you can use any device. You put a SIM card in that's, provisioned into our Cloud Core, and you could use an iPad, a Pixel Fold, whatever you want across that Baicells private LTE network. All right. Any questions about that? That's a lot of information quickly put out there. Any questions there? All right, perfect. That's what I like. So we're gonna do we got a question. Got a
Okay,
hand
Sam,
raised.
I'll get you going. Go ahead, Eric. Continue on, and I'll get Sam going.
All right, so we're gonna do our shameless advertising number one. So fixed wireless being outdoor, we have an outdoor starter kit to get you up and running and learning about private LTE. So with this kit, you actually get an eNode B, you get a CPE, you get a router, and you get SIM cards. So you get 10 SIM cards, but only one CPE. We want you to try other devices. So all of this is for $2,000. Again, this is a private LTE starter kit. You connect it to the cloud core and you're up and running. All right,
All
shoot.
right, Sam, go for it.
Yeah, actually, I don't know whether you've answered it, but we have a small ISP in Ghana, and I'm sure this platform will be very suitable. But I was wondering, are we con are your SIM cards controlled by the telcos, or your SIM cards are provided right onto your devices? The SIM
Uh,
cards.
they are physical SIM cards
Mhm.
that's already pre-written, so you can't rewrite over them, and they are with the PLMN of 314030. So
So
all of that is already set.
okay, so it means I don't have to go through, say, the local telcos to get a SIM card.
Nope. You
Okay,
buy our
great.
SIM cards and you could use it.
Okay, great. Okay, good.
Kevin has a question. Is this only for residential or not commercial? So, I don't know if you want to answer it right now.
No, I'll answer that. So this is actually great because it does lead into the next one. So this could be residential or enterprise. I mean, it doesn't matter where you put this. Part of that band 48, that CBRS band, allows it to go anywhere. You'll see here shortly that I will talk about warehousing. You could use this in oil and gas warehousing, business opportunities, MDUs, all of those you could definitely put in a private LTE network. But again, you'll see me talk about an event a little bit later as well. All right. So now you saw fixed wireless there. Let's talk about kind of Wi-Fi. What does a typical Wi-Fi network look like? I didn't have space to type that all out up there, so I just left it this way. So you have your internet come into your network manager. Normally that's a controller. From the controller, it goes out to each one of your access points. Your access points then sends out that Wi-Fi signal to any device willing to accept it. That's your typical Wi-Fi network right there. You have low security. As more devices join, you have higher latency. And one thing I am going to point out is going to be the range. You think Wi-Fi is good range, private LTE is just significantly better. And we'll talk about why here shortly. So that's what a typical Wi-Fi network looks like. So indoors, what does a typical private LTE network look like? So with Baicells, you have that network manager, Evolve Packet Core in the cloud core. You connect it to our indoor access point. I'll actually grab one real quick. Also called eNode B. So this would be it right here. You see there, simple SFP, POEN, SMA connector for GPS, and then a power connector. And then from there, that spews out your LTE, in our case, band 48 to every device willing to accept it. So any kind of device will work. I'll talk about MDU real quick. So MDUs, you could put that out in a hallway, cover 2 or 3 floors, and have these inside each one of your apartments. You have a full controlled private LTE network without all the self-interference of Wi-Fi. Now, let's talk about coverage. I mentioned with Wi-Fi, the coverage is kind of limited. The unibands, the max you're going to see is about 36 dBm, whereas with your LTE on band 48, you can get about a 53 dB EIRP. We have a question?
There is a question,
Let's
and
do it.
you can answer it if you want. Go ahead.
Oh, I wasn't going to click on it. You can read them.
Okay. Does private LTE function internally similar to like a typical network? Like, can the devices communicate with each other in the private LTE network?
I have to find out the answer to that. I believe it can based upon how you set it up, but I do need to find out the answer to that. So Benji, can you take down his name, and we'll get back with him on that one.
Absolutely.
I think that is just a function you have to enable through your network. So we will find out and get back to you on that one. So shameless ad number 2. We not only have an outdoor starter kit, we have an indoor starter kit as well. So again, you get back to a scenario where this could be a great test lab to start learning about LTE under $2,000, or you could get into the fact that you could put this out to an apartment complex and start deploying private LTE out there. This is so what's included in this one is going to be that device I just showed you, the Neutrino 430. Then you're going to have in indoor category 15 CPE, that's this guy right here, a router, carrier aggregation license, gold support, and again, 10 SIM cards. We want you to try out and see the standardized of the 3GPP. I love it because seriously, this is the Pixel Fold. I put it on my network all the time. I have an iPad I put on the network all the time. And my previous employee, I used to just test every device under the sun. I would just bring it in house and I would just keep testing and testing. I love this stuff. This stuff is fun for me. All right, again, that's the indoor starter kit. $2,000, get you up and running, connected to the cloud core, nice and easy and quick. All right, so comparison 4G to Wi-Fi 6 to 6 gigahertz. When we're looking at the throughputs, it's not going to be fair because 4G is a lot older, but I wanted to show you all of these. So with 4G, the max channel bandwidth you're looking at is 40 megahertz, whereas Wi-Fi 6 and 6 gigahertz, 160 megahertz. With Wi-Fi 6, you could aggregate other channels together to get a lot more throughput. With 4G, the max throughput you're going to see is going to be right around 145 to 150 megabits per second. Now the range, this is where 4G kills it. You can see up to 10 kilometers, even a lot farther if you're in a licensed spectrum. I've seen with band 48, 17 miles, even though we don't recommend you going over 7. With band 41, I've seen up to 32 miles. So the range is definitely there. The average latency on 4G is going to be a little bit higher than Wi-Fi 6 and 6 gigahertz. But again, your output power, because of it being licensed or slightly licensed, is going to be a little bit higher. 6 gigahertz is amazing, and AFC is up and working now. But all of that is unlicensed, and we'll see that come into play in the future as well. So the benefits of Baicells Private LTE: lower capex. You're not going to find a cheaper solution when it comes to a turnkey solution because of that cloud core. Even though you hear cloud core, you're going to think, oh man, that operating is going to be so much more. It's actually $1 per month per managed device, not SIM card, per managed device. So on my network, I one device here, if I connect this guy to let's say the Google Pixel Fold, this is the only thing I'm going to be doing $1 a month for. Now, if I connect the SIM card to this guy, this would also be $1 per month. But again, it is per managed device. It has nothing to do with the SIM usage itself. All right. So standard space, mix and match. So you can buy, I'll name drop again, BEC, toss our SIM card in it, and you don't have to pay $1 a month to us. So interop there. QoS requirements, whatever you need. You have different QoS values depending on your core. My favorite line is, we provide an indoor, outdoor, local, wide area coverage across one network. And all that's with full mobility. LTE can do that. So indoor, outdoor, local, wide area network, all in one network. Go from inside to outside, a warehouse, going to, the parking lot. You can have all that as the same network seamlessly as a single network. And then end-to-end security. So a couple of quick case studies. We'll do that one second. So Taste of Madison it's an event that happens in Madison once a year. About 250,000 people show up in 3 days to the small little capital. Prior to the pandemic, they constantly just took cash or tried the public network, your AT&T, your Verizon. But after the pandemic, they wanted to go cashless, and they knew that relying on that AT&T or Verizon wasn't very stable. Too many people in one area is going to kill your LTE network. So they went out and they found one of our integrators, Hoyo's consultant, and said, what can we do different here? So what they did is they went up on top of a rooftop and they installed a 436Q overlooking the entire area. From there, they handed out little MiFi devices. I have one laying around. I don't know where it's at. Little MiFi devices. So it's LTE based device that takes LTE in and then puts out just a little bit of Wi-Fi signal. It's in her hand right there. We handed that out to all the beer vendors, and the cashless payments went off without a hitch. They never had any issues except for battery drain, because these only last for about 5 hours if you don't keep them plugged in, and we don't recommend you plugging them in. So went off without a hitch. That was, I think, 2022 that they did it the first time. And then 2023, they did it again. They love the solution, and they're going to use it every year, and they're going to keep adding more and more vendors to it, more than just the beer vendors. One big thing I like to add about that in here, it increased the donations of 3 times by utilizing this private solution. So those paying for the beer is called a donation. So they were able to increase the payments because they were using the private LTE solution. All right, City of Vegas. This gets into a lot of different networks all in one. So City of Vegas started in downtown Vegas, where the school system was looking for a fast way of getting service out to students. So what they did is they put up four 436 Qs in a 360-degree fashion, 65 degrees in all directions, using carrier aggregation. And they were able to get this network up and running in less than 45 days. They sent out 100 CPEs. I believe they were indoor CPEs with SIM cards already attached, to where all the student had to do was plug it in, keep it close to a window near this building, and they were up and running with with private LTE and having internet connectivity to these homes. It was a great thing that they did, and they're also forward thinking. So they looked at other things that they could start attaching to the city of Vegas, like videos. So they have video feeds coming back through the same network. They're looking at doing trash dumpsters throughout the entire city where you could dump trash. Understanding that, so what it's doing is as the dumpsters fill up, it'll send off a signal and say, hey, I'm full, and then they send out a truck. Whereas right now they're sending out a truck just to see if it's full and then sending out another truck if it's not. So many different use cases with LTE, and you can put them all on the same network by segmenting them. All right, so I'll close it out there. I know we have lots of questions we'll get to. So the takeaway is Baicells provides a low-cost outdoor fixed solution, but we're more than just fixed wireless. You can do so much more with mobility with different devices. We have a low-cost indoor solution as well. And then lastly, we provide more than just a fixed wireless solution. So it's up to you guys. This is a great opportunity for you to try it out. And Matt, this is your shameless plug.
I am shameless. I will be shameless. Hey guys, we want you to reach out to us. You know, please contact us. We want to talk to you about how LTE might, you know, a private LTE network might work in your situation. Everybody has something that's different. Everyone has different projects or something that makes theirs a bit unique. So we would love to get in touch with you and work through that with you and kind of show you what private LTE can do for you. You can either scan this QR code or use the URL there and to reach out to us. You can also just pick up the phone, call us. We're happy to do that too. But yeah, please, let's talk about what you have. We'd love to help you for sure.
So we have
All right.
we have a few people. This is a question for Matt and Matt. We have people that ask. Like Sam wants to know if there's a possible deployment that we could help them with out in Ghana, and so that's something we could probably solve with a little bit of discussion. The other one is, when will we, Streakwave, get handheld units in stock? And that one maybe you could talk about a little bit, or since both you and Eric are here, but Kevin wants to know when that will take place.
So the handheld units, meaning the MiFis, is that what we're talking about?
But Kevin, is it the MiFis or something else? And we'll see if he writes back.
Yes,
Yes,
MiFis.
yes, the MiFis.
Okay. So I can look into that. I know there was a shortage of those for a little while, but I'm sure they're on the docket to be brought in. So if you have a specific need for that, we can hit me up after. We can take down the name Benji. I can't see it from here, but we can I'll reach out to you with an ETA on those.
Okay. Okay, so Sam, we'll also try to reach out to you about the ISP in Ghana and see what we could do there. That's very interesting. We'll see if we can solve that. There's a few more questions here, so I'm going to go ahead and read them here for you guys. Eric, you mentioned coverage and like how well the coverage is, but what about tree penetration? How large of an impact is that? So I'm guessing Leo is somewhere where there's a lot of trees, maybe evergreens, deciduous, just a forest area. What kind of coverage do you have, and is it impacted by that much interference?
So, all right. So that's actually going to answer two of the questions on here. Mr. Nguyen as well. This will answer his question too. So with private LTE, part of the penetration lies within the spectrum itself. So if you look at 5 gig with the uniband, not only are you lower powered, but you're also a higher frequency. When you get into higher frequencies, you're going to have less penetration. So if you look at the 3.65 CBRS band, you're going to have more penetration from that. And if you go down to the band 41 of 2.5, even more there. So now let's talk about the other aspect of it of being LTE, whereas LTE, it has this thing called multipathing. And multipathing is bad in Wi-Fi, doesn't like it, but LTE opens itself up for multipathing and says, all right, I'm waiting for any kind of multipathing, and then I'm going to close, open, close, over and over again. So when it hits near line of sight, non-line of sight, multipathing actually helps out. I was in one area testing one day in clear line of sight. I mean, just clear as day, about, I think it was 6 miles out. I was testing off of a different RAN, but Baicells CPEs, and pointing directly at it, I was getting about 60 down. I was like, all right, cool, that's not bad. So I took it and I turned it to a wall directly in front of me, 30 feet in front of me. I was getting 110 down. I sat there for an hour trying to figure out how that is possible. And I think it was just because of multipathing. I just sat there for, like I said, testing back and forth, replicating it every single time. So with the near and non-line of sight, you see, because of LTE being LTE, that multipathing does work well with it. I hope that answers both of your questions. All right, and let's go to the next one. All right.
Okay, so we got about a minute, and I think we're gonna try to just go over and see. I know the webinar was scheduled for 45, so
We can go over.
we can go over. Could you elaborate more on the roadmap of cloud core and 5G, like multiple APNs or the IPv6, etc.? Somewhere, I think you mentioned that the 846 would be 5G capable in the future.
Okay, yeah. So Dale, your question there. Oh, don't close it yet.
Okay,
So we do not have any plans of making that 846 a remote radio unit. The only radio we have currently that we're looking at doing that is the Nova 452. And in the future, that will become a 5G unit, but that is band 41. As far as the roadmap for Cloud Core and 5G, right now, I believe that our devices are Halo B enabled more so than Cloud Core. And what that basically means is that Halo B is going to store the SIM information on the device itself to where you don't really need that core anymore. Did you bring his question back up?
no, unfortunately, I couldn't.
Multiple APNs. Actually, I think Jason Bailey on here might be able to help me with that answer. I believe that that is actually up and working now. We do have constant rolling out, but I believe that the multiple APNs are currently working. All right, and I think that's everything. We'll have to do maybe the third quarter Baicells will do a roadmap where we get into it and talk about everything that's upcoming.
Okay. Well, we are up to our time, but I'm going to ask these questions. So if people need to run, they need to run. But I'm going to go
All right.
ahead and ask these questions.
You don't
Yeah.
have to ask them. I see them. I can do
Okay,
it.
go for it.
So, Mike Anderson, could you speak to how network handles both fixed CPEs and roaming units? I mean, it's perfectly fine. The fix is fixed. Stop clearing the questions. So it will handle both the exact same way. It doesn't matter if it's roaming or not. That CPE has a specific value tied to it, as like RSSI. And when that CPE hits a lower value than the eNode B wants, it'll switch to a different eNode B. So whether it's fixed wireless or not, that eNode B only cares about the RSSI value. All right. Next question, Robert. To clarify, CBRS served by 430 and 436 do require an eSIM. Is there a way to transition between a network served by T-Mobile and private networks such as the one deployed in Vegas? Great question. So that's actually technology that's being tested right now. Certain cores will allow for SIMs to be to roam from one network to another. It is, I believe, called MOCN, where you can have multiple operators on the same RAN. It is, again, technology that's being tested currently. AT&T and T-Mobile are all for it. They're working with the different core vendors on it. Verizon, not so much. But stay tuned, Robert, for that, and hopefully, I would say in less than 6 months, we can have a much better answer with AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon playing ball with private LTE. All right, Kevin, what is the speed of private LTE? Hard to sell on House of Worship when they have a gig of speeds. I can't compete with a gig. 5G, you can look at about 850 down on 100 megahertz. 4G, you could look at 150 down on 20 megahertz or 300 down on 40 megahertz. There are limits of our capability in LTE, and that's just the limit we face. So with the bandwidth, we could only do so much with it. So we can't compete with that. All right. Okay, sorry, Benji. What is the upload speed? Seems like private LTE would be good for live. Would be. So you have different variables where you could go higher on the uplink, higher on the downlink. With 4G, you could get a max of 35 megabits per 20 megahertz on your uplink. So again, that's 35 megabits per second per 20 megahertz. This device here, it'll do carrier aggregation on the uplink. I've pulled 67 on the uplink many times through this. Same thing on the base station. So you'll look at a max of about 70 to 75 megabits uplink for 40 megahertz. All right. Kevin, that should take care of you. That should clear out all the questions. Any other questions? All right, awesome. Uh-oh, how many users? Depends on the device. So the 430i up to 128 users, same thing with the Neutrino. If you get into our smaller devices, the 230i, 32 users. You get into our larger one, the 846, 512 users. I'm a walking data sheet, guys.
Well, hey, thanks everyone. Look, if you're interested in just talking with Eric and Matt about setting up your own private LTE, on the screen you can see that QR code in the website. Also, you can contact Streakwave. Look, I'm really looking forward to the opportunities that private LTE can give our customers and businesses. I mean, if you think about how secure the network is compared to the other options, and obviously we know there are some trade-offs with speed and stuff, but the security is important. And if you're interested in just learning more, reach out. We want to talk to you about it, and we have lots to share and only a limited amount of time in a webinar to share it. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Eric and Matt, for joining us. If you also want to learn more, just reach out and we'll talk about it some more.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.